You're recording? Is that good?
Can we close that door, Randy?
Yep.
All right, everybody, welcome. My name is Gino Calcini, KG7POU. Today we're going to talk about a little bit about some of the new findings that the FCC's released in their public notice pertaining to flying drones and FPV, which is first-person view with the goggles. And I'll do a little demonstration towards the end on flying and stuff, and we'll take some questions and stuff. But they have me booked for an hour. This should probably take us longer than 30 minutes, to be honest with you. So it shouldn't take too long on the slide. So the slide I'm pretty much just going to go through and read what I can with you guys. And if you have any questions, just let me know at the end. And we should be good to go here. All right, so why do I need a license for ham radio? So it's assuming that you use a standard offset radio system, just flying a rotor or operating any other type of RC vehicle with a line of sight perspective does not require an FCC license. And because RC systems sold in the U.S. go through certification process with the FCC. The certification ensures that the system does not create interference with other equipment. So as you guys know, that's why we got our ham radio tickets. So I think the big push for them is they want the pilots to get their ham radio license in the sense that they understand what they're using. They understand, antennas, they understand frequencies, so on and so forth. The FCC also verifies that the radio works acceptably well in the presence of interference from other sources. The license comes into play when you introduce an FPV system into the mix that we just talked about a little bit. So you guys stopped by the booth today. We talked about it. Let me go a little closer. There we go. Is that better? Yes. There we go. Now, night and day, huh? All right. So most video transmission systems used for FPV do not have an FCC certificate or certification. Therefore, the FCC places a burden of preventing and tolerating signal interference on the operator. So just like us, we're held accountable for what we do on the air. We're held accountable for our actions, all our words, so on and so forth. The amateur radio license is the FCC's way of determining the user of this equipment has demonstrated adequate training and proficiency to uphold that responsibility.
It's going to get copyrighted.
All right, so this just came out, guys, on June 5th, 2018. This is a public notice from the FCC. The public notice states in there that drone audio video transmitting accessories must comply with the Commission's rules to be marketed to the USA. Customers operators must also comply with the FCC rules. So as a retailer myself, I'm unable to sell anything I get from China now that's not FCC part compliant, right? Unless I check and make sure everyone is a ham radio operator. So if I don't do a pre-check, then I can get fined up to $145,000 a day. Some of the big companies have been fined already is Get FPV. They got fined $700,000 so far in the last couple months. Hobby King got fined $2.7 million for selling these illegal transmitters. And basically what it is the L band is in there, some of the E band is illegal and stuff. We'll cover that when we get a little more. But this was just released on June 5th, so it's fresh. And some of the stuff I highlighted here, it's in the bold here, I'll read it to you. If a device is only capable of operating on a frequency that the FCC has allocated for use with amateur licensees, it does not require FCC equipment authorization. So just like some of our radios and stuff we get, it's experimental, right? So we're allowed to have some kind of an experimental FPV experience, I guess, but you still have to have your ham radio license. And an amateur licensee may use his or her license to operate the model aircraft. Now this is where it gets kind of tricky. It says may use his or her. So in the ham radio world, we're able to use official observer, right? So if I want to get on the general band, I'm only a technician. I want to get on the general band, I'd find a general and help me out and get on there and talk at 40 or 20, right? So in this aspect, so in the paperwork, it doesn't state anywhere that there's official observers. So my take of it is each person has to have their own license. So in the way we were running races before, is I would be an official observer over all the guys that didn't have a license. But now that this came out, I've changed the entire way it's ran. There's no, if you don't have a license, you can't race with us. Because I don't want to be held accountable myself as a ham radio operator at all. So
the control operator of any device has to be at the point of operation. In other words, the official observer has to be able to instantly turn that device off. So you couldn't stay in this room and let 10 people operate. If you couldn't instantly shut it off, you would not be the control operator. So you would be in violation of that.
Sweet. Even if ATRAM operates solely within the amateur frequencies, the operator is required to have an amateur license. to operate a device and must otherwise comply with all applicable rules. Number 9 in there also I've highlighted. The Bureau will take very serious any reports of failures of drone operators to comply with all relevant rules and requirements when using devices in the amateur bands. And like I just said, it's some of the stuff. I spoke to a few of the OOs. One of our OOs, Ray, here in town, he's like the head of the OOs here. And this has been a law for a long time, but it's finally just coming out in writing, I guess, in a sense, a new way. They're kind of starting to, buckle down on the guys that are dabbling in the illegal frequencies. And that's what it's really all about is the illegal frequencies. And this is what you should know from the FCC's bulletin. The Bureau observes a surge in websites advertising and selling drone AV transmitters that are not authorized in accordance with the Commission's rules. Generally, electronic devices that intentionally emit radio waves are required to be certified by the FCC prior to advertising, sale, or use. AV transmitters intentionally emit radio waves to transmit images or video from drone-mounted cameras back to the operator. So like Mr. Bigley was just saying, if you're a sole controller of that unit, so there's no way I can technically watch 10 guys at once because I can't turn off 10 guys at one time. It's impossible. Especially when I don't have a radio in my hand, you have to walk up to the quad and unplug it. So, according to these devices, require certification to show compliance with our rules, unless they are subject to an extension. See below. This certificate requirement ensures the equipment that intentionally emits radio waves complies with the technical requirements to avoid interference with federal government operations. Private licensed operations and other equipment that does not comply with the technical requirements cannot be certified and thus cannot be advertised, sold, or used. So I tell all the pilots, if you have stuff that's not FCC or you have stuff that has illegal bans, just trash. You need to get rid of it. There's no use keeping it. Even with me being a ham radio operator, I try not to, if at all whatsoever, run anything that has an L band in it or any illegal FPV bands. It's 5 centimeters we're talking about here, 5.8 gigahertz band. There's exemption to certification. That's the exemption there to see below. If a device is only capable of operating on frequencies that the FCC has allocated for use by amateur licensees, it does not require FCC equipment authorization. And an amateur licensee may use this or her license to operate model craft, including the use of an AV transmitter accessories that also transmit on such frequencies. However, many AV transmitters that purport to operate on amateur frequencies also operate on frequencies that extend beyond the designated amateur frequency band. That's what I was just talking about, some of the L bands, some of the real low stuff. In America, you can't use it, can't be on it. If an AV transmitter is capable of operating outside the amateur frequency bands, it cannot be advertised, sold, or operated within the United States without an FCC equipment certification. But we all know if it's an L band, it's not going to get certificate because it's not legal. Even if an AV transmitter operates solely within the amateur frequency, operator is required to have an amateur license. So here's the stuff we've been arguing with some of the other pilots out there. They'll tell me, I don't have to have my license. It says that if it's F Part 15 or whatever. Well, it's still 5.8, it's still a ham radio license. You still have to have it regardless. So, like I said, so what the thing was is, our speculation for the last year was, okay, it's under 25 milliwatts or under, so I'm safe. I'm only flying on a race band, which I'll show you those in a minute. I'm only on a race band, so it's safe because it's called race band. That's not true. So all the speculation and stuff, it's good that this has finally came out because now the guys have to respect our bands. They have to step up to the plate and become hammered operators to fly an FPV. Bureau will take seriously any reports, failures of drone operators to comply with the relevant rules and requirements, device amateur bands. All right, here we're going to start getting into the what is FPV and 5.8 gigahertz. Okay, on the right hand side, guys, it starts a little fuzzy. A through H right there. So the bottom chart is what's okay to fly on. I came up with the bottom chart. So anything on the bottom chart, it's okay to fly with your ham radio license in the United States.
Excuse me, you talking about the bottom chart?
Yes, sir, the bottom color one. Those are the okay channels. The top stuff shows some of the okay channels, but also has the other channels that you can't use, like U, O, and the L band. You also see on the E band how it's missing a lot of the middle parts. That's a lot of the weather station stuff. So we try to stay out of there. But I do tell the pilots to try to stay off the ends, like 5945 and the E band and 5645, but the same thing with us. On the other bands, we get bleed over, sometimes on the other band. It can cause a problem. So the 5 centimeter or 5 gigahertz band is a portion of the SHF microwave radio spectrum internationally allocated to the amateur radios, the amateur side used to secondary bases in IT regions 1 and 3. The amateur radio band is between 5650 megahertz and 5650 megahertz. In the UTI region 2, the amateur radio band is between 5650 megahertz and 5925 megahertz. The amateur satellite service is allocated at 5830 to 5850 megahertz. For downlinks only on a secondary base, that's also allocated to 5650 and 5670 megahertz. For uplinks only on a non-interference basis to other users, IT equipment. So basically 5282, they know it's okay in different places. Amateur stations must accept harmful interference from ISM users operating the band. So, like I said, there's stuff you want to avoid. As you'll see on the list up there, C is called race band. So it's not even listed on our paperwork as C, they just call it race band. And those you'll find on down there on COC called race band. Most of the stuff now you'll buy, it's part 15 compliant, is on the race band. Also, the band A, the companies that run it is Team Black Sheep, Range Videos, Spy Hawk, Fly Cam 1, and USA. Those channels are okay, but you have to have a ham radio license. That's the only way you can fly on. There's really nothing in here on these lists that you can fly, even if it's a Part 15 compliant item, without being a ham radio operator.
As of when, recently?
As of June 5th, 2018, when the public notice was put out. And we all know the FC doesn't put out a lot of public notice bulletins. They really don't anymore. So I kind of took it to heed, and finally, it's good because, like I said before, it was all speculation. No one knew what to do. Everyone had their own theories. Oh, it's under 25 milliwatts, like I was explaining, or it's under this, but it's not. So this is a great thing because now it shows everyone the O's, shows the ARL, all the organizations that, okay, you can't do this anymore unless you're a ham radio operator. But I also think it's a good thing because, you know, with us, we're an older crowd, man. We don't have a lot of newer guys coming in all